When I returned to my hometown, I never expected to witness such devastation. My father's livestock pen was wrecked. A young calf lay motionless, deep fresh bite marks all over its body. The coyotes had gone too far. It was time for us to take action. The rifle was polished, magazines fully loaded, the hunt was on. At dawn, mist still clung to the wide fields of Colorado as our pickup truck rumbled down the muddy dirt road toward the rendezvous point. After studying the map and finalizing our strategy, we geared up camouflage clothing, tactical boots, checked the radios and weapons one last time. Today's mission: to reduce the threat from coyotes, the cunning predators that had been wreaking havoc on the farms of my hometown. We split into 3 groups, each assigned to a specific ambush zone. I picked a spot along the edge of a field, perfect terrain, and a familiar route for hungry coyotes returning from a long night's hunt. I was already in position. Through the radio, I signaled John. Moments later, a haunting sound echoed across the field. A recording of a wounded rabbit played through an electronic caller 100 meters away. Time passed in tense silence. At the 20th minute, 2 gray shadows appeared, moving stealthily like ghosts. I made a soft sound to draw their attention. The instant they stopped, I acted. The crosshair locked in. Boom. One coyote dropped instantly. The other jolted in panic, bolting straight toward Nick's position. I grabbed the radio and alerted him to finish the job. Nick was ready. As the shadow appeared in the distance, he switched to a new sound, a distressed puppy's cry, something no adult coyote could ignore. Just as expected, the fleeing animal froze in confusion. That hesitation proved fatal. Nick held his breath, waited for it to stop moving, then fired. The shot dropped the coyote before it even realized what had happened. By midday, the coyotes usually retreat into shaded areas to rest, making this the toughest time to hunt. Lying low behind a gentle hillside, rifle loaded and ready, I waited. After nearly an hour, a coyote emerged, cautiously approaching my position. It paused, uncertain, and that hesitation sealed its fate. I squeezed the trigger firmly, ending its life in an instant. The sudden gunshot startled several others hiding nearby. From our support positions, Nick and John opened fire simultaneously, sharp, coordinated bursts. The midday ambush was a complete success. We moved to another area dense with shrubs. Soon a coyote appeared, its figure flickering behind a large tree. Taking aim at its weak spot, I held my breath and pulled the trigger. As the afternoon sun softened, we climbed a high ridge with a broad view, perfect for intercepting coyotes returning to their dens. John played the sound of a wounded animal again. Moments later, a lone coyote wandered into sight. It paused, listening to the call, then collapsed instantly under my precise shot. One by one, each target was taken down, a flawless display of teamwork and marksmanship. As dusk fell, the coyotes became active once more. We returned to the morning's grasslands, but this time chose a position near a dense thicket, a spot they often passed through to reach their hunting grounds. The familiar call echoed once again. Aha! A lone coyote cautiously stepped out. The moment it stopped to scan its surroundings, I loaded, aimed, and fired. One clean shot, ending a long day's hunt.
Attention là-haut à gauche, deux bons à tirer à gauche.
The morning mist still clung to the ground when I received a call at dawn from a farmer living near the edge of the forest. His trembling voice described the terrifying scene of a herd of wild boars storming through, tearing apart cornfields, wrecking barns, and striking fear into his family. This wasn't the first time. These beasts not only devastate crops, but also throw the lives of villagers into chaos, leaving them sleepless night after night. Hearing his plea, my team and I immediately packed our gear, checked our rifles, and set off. This was not just another hunt. Today, we carried the responsibility of an entire community on our shoulders. Could we finally put an end to this nightmare called wild boars? Let's hunt. After a quick discussion, we agreed to start at the dense woods, an area where wild boars often appear, leaving deep tracks on the damp earth. The whole team tensed, waiting for the first encounter with the destroyers. We hid among the thickets, the air thick with silence, broken only by our restrained breaths. 10 long minutes passed, until suddenly the ground began to tremble, faint at first, then stronger. From behind the great bushes, a massive herd of wild boars burst out, dark figures surging forward like a violent flood. Without hesitation, I raised my rifle and fired. A decisive shot dropped the first target on the spot. The herd scattered in panic, leaving the forest torn and chaotic. What do you think of that opening shot? If it were you, would you have kept your cool staring down a charging herd that size? Elsewhere, my teammate Jack was already in position. Amidst the chaos, a lone boar dashed forward, right into his sights. His first shot tore through the air, but only grazed the beast, making it bolt even faster. Calmly, he steadied himself and fired again. The second bullet struck clean. The animal stumbled, skidded across the leaves, and slammed lifelessly against a tree trunk. Determined not to let the herd escape, we followed the fresh tracks pressed into the wet ground. Suddenly, the sharp cries of our hounds pierced the silence, clear signs that the target was close. We rushed toward the sound. In a clearing, a furious boar was surrounded, hemmed in tightly by the dogs. No way out. I raised my rifle, pulled the trigger. A thunderous blast echoed, and the beast collapsed instantly. The tense chase in the forest was over. You see, these monsters don't stand a chance, not when we're here. With the forest cleared, we pushed onward toward the northern hillside, driving our off-road truck up rugged terrain. Splitting into groups, we moved carefully along the slopes, bracing for any sudden encounter. From my vantage point high above, I scanned the slope. Amid the thick brush, a massive, dark figure crept forward. Unlucky for it, every step had already entered my sights. I took a deep breath, raised my rifle, and squeezed the trigger coldly. A deafening shot cracked the air. The beast staggered and dropped in an instant. For a moment, the entire hillside fell into breathless silence. Do you see? Once they're in my sights, there's no escape. Meanwhile, across the hill, another teammate had locked onto a panicked boar tearing through the undergrowth. His first shot missed in the chaos, but just a heartbeat later, his second rang out precise and clean. The animal cried out, skidded across the dirt, and lay still in the brush. It seemed the chase had ended, but no. Look, from the open ground below, a black shadow suddenly burst out at incredible speed. I couldn't let this one escape. Quickly drawing it into close range, I fired. Bang! The echo rolled across the hill. The beast froze, then collapsed right there on the spot. And with that, the last boar of the day was taken down, closing this tense but thrilling hunt. On the way back home, our team finally allowed ourselves a sigh of relief. Every track, every ambush had tested our patience and resolve. More importantly, This hunt was carried out entirely within the legal framework of the region, aimed at protecting crops and restoring ecological balance. For completing this mission, we owe heartfelt thanks to the local villagers whose support was invaluable. If you enjoy intense moments like these, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next hunting adventure. In America, whenever wild boars descend, entire communities erupt into chaos, as if facing a state of emergency. Fields lie in ruins, crops torn apart, and desperate locals turn to expert marksmen as their last line of defense. When nature spirals out of control, who will step up to restore the balance? Join us on this pulse-pounding pursuit, where humans confront colossal devastators in the heart of the wild. Who will claim victory in this fierce battle? The answers will unfold with every step of today's hunt. We set out for the vast prairies of the American Midwest, where wild boars roam in packs. Rifles, thermal binoculars, and camouflage gear are locked and loaded. The hunt across the open grasslands begins. Treading carefully through the lush green prairie, barely 10 minutes passed when a loud rustle erupted behind me. A monstrous beast was charging straight at me with terrifying speed. Instinct kicked in, I backstepped swiftly, raised my rifle, and fired. The first shot grazed past, the prey dodging by a hair's breadth. Not letting the moment slip, I locked onto the target again and pulled the trigger once more. The second bullet struck true, piercing its flank. The beast collapsed, skidding across the ground before lying still. In another direction, a panicked prey bolted across the prairie, fleeing after witnessing its companion's downfall. Seizing the moment, I swiftly shouldered my rifle, fine-tuning the scope's aim. One heartbeat later, I pulled the trigger. The bullet sliced through the air, striking the beast's flank. It skidded across the grassy expanse before collapsing, completely subdued. Leaving behind the sprawling prairies, we press on toward the rugged hills of the American West. The terrain shifts dramatically, jagged rocky slopes, scattered thorny brush, and air growing dry and crisp. We double-check our weapons, stocking up on binoculars, armor-piercing rounds, and water. The battle in this harsh hill country officially begins. The pack of hunting dogs was unleashed to scout the terrain. In less than 10 minutes, their frenzied barking echoed across the hillside. From a distance, I spotted a beast fleeing the relentless pursuit. Without hesitation, I raised my rifle, locked onto the target, and pulled the trigger. The sharp crack of the shot rang out, the bullet tearing through the air and striking a vital point. The prey collapsed down the slope, the chase over in a flash. Continuing the climb toward the hill's crest, a sudden rustle in the nearby brush caught my ear. I knew the prey was lurking there. Moving softly, I closed in, ready to take it down. The moment its dark head poked out from the thicket, I fired in a flash. The bullet struck its skull, sending the beast reeling backward before it tumbled down the hillside. No chance for it to fight back. Five. Just nearby, the frantic barking of the hunting dogs erupted again from a thick cluster of brush ahead. I swiftly closed in, holding my breath, rifle raised and ready.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Once again, we've claimed victory in a heart-pounding showdown between hunter and wild nature. Every shot fired today was within the bounds of the law in designated hunting areas across America.